I'm glad that assists have changed over time. They're in that wave. Let's hope that they come back more, positive this time, very consensual and supportive, grounded, and, with a little mix of feel good.
Welcome back to Full-Time Yoga Teacher Podcast. My name is Reika and I am your host. I hope you are having a good day as you're listening to this. As I am recording now, I have 1 weekend left of this current 200-hour teacher training that I've been teaching for the past 4 months. So if you are new, I've been teaching 200-hour Smart Flow yoga teacher training in Laguna Niguel, which is in Orange County. And it was 8 weekends long, and we met about every other weekend. And this was my first time teaching 200-hour Smart Flow teacher training. I've taught other teacher training, but first one of Smart Flow, which is Smart Flow is a method that Annie Carpenter developed, and she is my main teacher right now. So it's been an honor to teach her teacher training curriculum. I really do believe it's a very intelligent way of teaching and practicing and thinking about yoga and yoga asana. So yeah, it's been really great experience. And we're about to wrap that up. So I feel like it was a pretty long 4 months, but also at the same time, it went by quickly. So as I'm kind of wrapping up this teacher training, I'm thinking of maybe doing some kind of summary, or maybe summary of my experience teaching this teacher training, my thoughts, maybe something like that can come in the future. For now, I am trying to provide this final weekend to be memorable and wonderful weekend to wrap up for my teacher trainees. I had such a wonderful group for this teacher training, and I couldn't have asked for a better group. Such a sweet and motivated and really eager to learn group of students, and there's nothing more I could ask for than that as a teacher trainer. So yeah, really great time. I feel so lucky and honored to have led this teacher training. I had co-led, so my co-teacher was Shanti. We worked really well together, and yeah, super excited that they get to graduate very soon. So that's kind of my update. Another update is that I do have a retreat coming up in Nicaragua. It's called Align with Purpose Ethical Yoga Retreat, and that's happening from July 12th through the 19th, and I have 1 room left to fill. So if you're interested in snagging that room, let me know. As I finalize the details of this retreat, I'm getting really excited about this retreat and how everything's gonna come together. It's gonna be located in northwestern part of Nicaragua. I would say part of Nicaragua that is less known and less traveled. The beaches there are beautiful. It's definitely a retreat that you can kind of unplug. There aren't big cities nearby. You just get to wake up with sound of ocean waves and be part of this beautiful nature there, and practice yoga in this beautiful shala overlooking the ocean, and really time to pause, maybe reflect, and also spend quality time with yourself and others who are joining us on the retreat. It is going to be something special. So if you're interested, let me know. I'll put the link to my retreat on the show notes as well if you would like to check it out. That is it for all the announcement today. So this week I am releasing the episode I have with Allie. This is the 3rd of the episode from the 4-part series of us talking about hands-on assist. And this week particularly, we're talking about the evolution of hands-on assist that's been happening in the yoga world from our own experience, as well as what we have seen and heard from our teachers. So I hope you're enjoying this episode series, and please let me know if you have any thoughts or feedback or your experience on hands-on assist that you would like to share with us. You can always message me on Instagram at Reika Yoga, or message me through my website, www.reikayoga.com, and I will speak to you on the other side.
Welcome back to Full-Time Yoga Teacher Podcast. Allie, I am so excited to continue having these conversations about hands-on adjustment, hands-on assist in yoga while teaching yoga. So this week we are having conversation about the evolution of hands-on adjustment, which is so interesting because a lot has changed. So tell us, how was it before?
I'm the historian on this, by the way. I've written many books. No. I love how you asked. Sorry, I had to. So evolution of adjustments, I find really interesting. I can really speak to it on like my 12. Yeah, it's, longer than I've been teaching. Okay, yeah. 12 plus years of doing yoga experience and how I've seen adjustments phase in, phase out, and kind of what's changed. And then obviously I know kind of what's happened before that, just based on hearing people's experiences, listening to things, reading things. So like we had mentioned, Ashtanga, they use adjustments. Ashtanga is a pretty old modern day yoga lineage. They're all about adjusting and kind of correcting alignment and, however you want to interpret those words. They're very big on the alignment. Iyengar, pretty old lineage of yoga that again is big on adjustments and using props kind of a form of an adjustment or an assist. And I personally think, and from what I've heard in people's experiences, there kind of used to be a lot more hands-on adjusting. It always happened. It was always going to happen. You could really assume that you were going to be touched by your teacher or the teacher at the time. And I feel like over time, people were questioning it. I'm sure. Why are people touching me? And then, kind of starts to phase out a little. You still see it, but maybe it's more in those other lineages versus other ones. And then you get the pandemic where it's like, no, do not touch. You're going to disease them. You're going to harm them. You're going to assault them. You're going to offend them. And I say it kind of that way because it was kind of that extreme. Like, do you feel like it was that extreme? Or is that just me? Because I'm an extreme person.
No, it was kind of extreme because obviously there was COVID. So it's like, oh, don't touch anybody else. Like we weren't even like
There's so
allowed
many
to hug people.
That
we
is
were
such a big
and we weren't like, we couldn't be like 6 feet from your students, all these things. And then there was a lot more like awareness around this Me Too movement and awareness around like this teacher student power dynamic that exists. So there was this world blowing up in so many directions that made it a lot more like hands off for sure during that time.
And so I think, it's gone through phases. It's going to go through phases, just like how I talked about whatever episode ago that was. Yoga is very good at adapting and changing over time, and it always has, and it's going to continue to change and adapt, luckily. So I feel like at least in the last, 12-ish years that I can talk about my own experience where I started doing Bikram classes. I was doing a lot of Bikram, and they're pretty hands-on teachers. They do a lot of strong verbal cues and showing. And then they get out of the pose and you're in the pose for a whole freaking minute. So they better come adjust me or something because I don't want to be bored here. And I had a lot of teachers that would come to me after class and be like, do this pose again and let me show you. Maybe not during class they would adjust or assist, but sometimes after. When I think about it, I've never taken an official Iyengar class. I've taken ones based on it, but I've definitely taken some Ashtanga classes, lots of hands-on assists, turning, twisting. Personally, pretty strong. I remember getting folded over with my arms pulled up overhead, and I was like, it's not. I don't think my shoulders go that way. Oh, they definitely don't go that way. Like, stop now. You know what I mean? And I like the evolution of it. I think it's definitely going in all positive directions. What the one negative thing that I would say is the abrupt stop and how people are like, don't you fucking dare touch me. And they forget how healing it is to be touched and welcomed and supported and loved, because generally, the only reason we're assisting/adjusting people is because in that moment, we're just feeling love and abundance, and we want to share this kind of bliss and joy and this knowledge that we're like, a simple platonic, I love you, I trust you, hope you can trust me in return. It's kind of what energetically you're sharing. It's a big thing to touch people. And like, when you get that good hug, you're just like, oh, baby, hold me forever. And that's a good adjustment. That's an intention of an adjustment. And there's just so few of the bad stuff around that I don't think you should spend your time being overly cautious. And oh my gosh, what are they doing by this? I think that's obviously you should be aware and consensual. And then other than that, I hope that we all can trust our yoga teachers.
Yeah. What you just said reminded me of a quote from Mati Ezrati, who is a very well-known yoga teacher who made a big influence in the yoga world in the West. But she used to say that if you take a yoga class and you don't receive hands-on assists from a teacher, it's like being in a relationship and not being able to touch your partner, not being able to receive a hug from your partner or something like that. So like she was saying how hands-on assist is an expression of love and care from a teacher to student. Obviously she comes from older generation and she's no longer in this world with us, but that's kind of how it was back then. It's like teachers must, I don't know, in my experience, it was like teachers, we were taught that, okay, go around and make sure you touch at least one person once per class kind of thing to kind of show that this is the way we show that we care about them. We see them, we love them. And obviously it changed for better because not everybody probably loves being touched or assisted, or maybe it wasn't the right moment in time for them in their life to be touched and adjusted in a certain way. I feel like the changes are good changes. We're asking great questions and having great discussions around hands-on adjustment. And I think I said this earlier, maybe in the first episode, but I feel like it's almost becoming this lost art. Not many people, not many teachers are assisting or adjusting anymore. And maybe they're not even really learning to adjust or assist anymore because during the pandemic, so many teacher training became online, and online teacher training, how are you going to teach how to assist people and touch people when you can't physically touch and assist people on online trainings? And I know some of the teacher training I was involved during the pandemic completely took out the hands-on assist out of their curriculum. And I don't know if they even ever brought it back after the pandemic. So I'm curious, was hands-on adjustment part of your 200 hours? Do you see that nowadays in 200 hours? What are you seeing?
It was in mine in the same way that I described it before, which was like, okay, assist in child's pose, push them into this forward fold. Okay, assist everybody now, you're done. I'm sure it was maybe a little bit more than that, but that's truly what stood out to me. That's what I remember. I don't remember learning any valuable hands-on assists. My 300 hour, it was gigantically, massively taught. And lots and lots and lots of those 300 hours spent with hands-on and hands-on me. So I could also feel them and give them. And I was, dogging on the male species earlier. Do I call them a male species? I don't know. I was dogging on men a little bit earlier, but like my teacher that I trust and who's done hands-on adjustments. Yeah, I've watched him do hands-on adjustments to a million people. He's a dude. He's a dad. He's a respectable guy. Definitely in no way, shape, or form, does it mean if you're a man, you can't assist? I've actually received really good hands-on assist from another male teacher that I used to take from. So many of my fellow yogis used to take class from him. He was a cool ass teacher. He did hands-on assist and they were so good. And they were mostly, now I know, those kind of grounding, stabilizing adjustments. He would kind of push you maybe a little here or there, but very gentle pressure, nothing forceful, just like a little finger, see where it goes. I'm getting lost in whatever I was talking about. But so my experience with them is that definitely after the pandemic, it was like 200 hours, you're not really teaching assist. You're kind of talking about them and conceptualizing them, but not so much doing them. And that's part of why I'm excited that I got to do this course at the beginning of the year and hopefully more. There's plans. They're just in my head still because I want to teach teachers about assist. I have all of this information in my head written in endless notebooks. I'm staring at two of them here, just about assists that I think are awesome.
Yeah. And now that I always ask for consent at the beginning of the class, and I do offer hands-on assist in my group classes, and it's often that obviously people who probably don't want assist will raise their hand, so I don't assist them. But people who actually do appreciate my assist, I do often hear after class that I appreciate that you offer hands-on assist because I don't really get those anymore in any other classes. Is some of the common feedback I do get. And obviously that's very skewed feedback because only people who enjoy it will, say that. And the people who don't want it are not going to come after class. Yeah. So definitely that, from what I'm hearing, it seems like it is like less happening out there now. And I try to offer it, but I really changed the way I offer it now. I told you in an earlier episode, but I could do a lot of feel-good assists to people, and I think I used to do them for a wrong reason. I used to do so many things for a wrong reason, and I'm still trying to unwind it. But like we want students to love your class, and we want students to come back to your class. We want to have a full class, and we want students to feel good and blah, 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 blah. So you just want to give all this feel-good assist. And now, like, I know how to do them, and I know a lot of people would like it if I do them, but I don't do them anymore unless it's a private sometime, because that to be the reason people come back to my class. Or I don't want people to expect to get certain kind of assist when they're in my class, because which just happens in Ashtanga room sometimes. People get so attached to receiving a specific kind of assist from their teacher, they're almost like, why am I not getting one? Like, if they're not receiving certain assist, they get like, angry or upset or annoyed, because people start to expect to get certain kind of assists. So I think that's why I kind of stepped away from feel-good assist anymore. And I just kind of give this like more correctional or direct or, waking up their blind spots. So it's not really a feel-good assist so much lately anymore. But yeah, I wanted to share that.
That's such a good point, because that expectation and that assumption, whether it's on the student's part or your part, you're expecting yourself to do it. You assume you have to do it, and then you do it and you're like, well, I didn't even feel right. I don't know what I'm doing. I find that happens with a lot of assists, and I just know that from talking to other teachers about it, not just making it up in my own head, but like just getting that anecdotal information from people. And that's why assists are so interesting, and they've definitely changed over time, which, yeah, it's a good thing. It's a very good thing. Yeah, I'm glad that assists have changed over time. They're in that wave. Let's hope that they come back more, positive this time. Very consensual and supportive, grounded, and, with a little mix of feel good.
Yeah, definitely. Because I do like receiving feel good assists. That's for sure.
So
I love
much.
it.
I love getting assists. My one of my other main teachers, Nikki. Okay, to be fair, I take more online classes with her, but the classes that I have taken with her in person, and I've joined a lot of her workshops, she's not going to be hands-on assisting in a lunge, in a down dog, in a warrior two, really nothing like that. She comes from the approach of, I don't really care what your lunge looks like. If you're lunging, lunge away, baby. Maybe after a relationship is formed, she'll be like, okay, you need to do a little more of this, a little more of this. But a lot of her classes aren't based on, you're going to do a perfect lunge. You're going to do a perfect warrior two, where your knee is not in any way internally rotated or semi-neutral rotation. She's not big on correcting these little bits. And she's really good at using her verbal cues to get your bones and your muscles to do things. I don't know how she'd be doing that, but yeah, I find that to also be interesting. I, as a teacher, am going to maybe care about a certain group of poses more than others as far as it is like assisting. Maybe I'm a horrible teacher for doing that. No, I think we're always going to turn to like what we're most kind of comfortable doing.
No, definitely. And then I think like for her, maybe she's a very well-known inversion teacher, or I don't know. I'm just kind of assuming. Then she probably are great at teaching inversions and great at having all this amazing assist and adjustment for inversions as well.
Yeah, it's like you can assist somebody in a multitude of things, in the gentle ways or the strong ways,
Yes. Okay. So this week's, we talked about the evolution of our hands-on assist. Is there anything else you would like to add to this topic?
I'm sure we could have a freaking hour-long discussion about this with like some deep combos, but no, I think we could.
All right. So we're going to come back next week to
Our
talk
final
about, final week. We're going to talk about different types of assists, which I'm really excited to chat about, because there's so many different types, and maybe listeners are listening. It's like, what? I thought there was only one. So we'll be discussing different styles or types of assists next week. So we will see you next week.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's podcast episode I had with Allie. It was interesting to talk about the evolution of a hands-on assist, and like what Allie said, yoga it's going to continue to evolve. It's always going to continue to adapt and change. So I'll be curious to see what's going to happen in the future, how it's going to adapt and change in the future to fit what is also happening and changing in our society. Next week, we are going to talk about different types of hands-on assist. So tune in next week to learn about that. Otherwise, that is it for this week from me. If you are interested in joining my ethical yoga retreat in Nicaragua, I have one room left, so check out the website. I'll put the link on the show notes. And if you like to leave a review or 5 stars or anything like that on this podcast, that would mean a lot to me. It helps others find the show. Please leave whatever review, stars, or any subscribe or follow or whatever it is that you can do from whatever platform you're listening to. But the best thing you can do is to share this episode or share this podcast with your friends, your yoga teacher, or anyone else that you think might enjoy this episode. And otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your day and talk to you next week. Bye.